I'm going to begin with some of the eye gestures. So one hand going straight up, the other hand down. So both hands are active. The downward pointing arm is not just hanging, but feeling as active as the upward pointing one. Because to be an eye is to be rooted on the earth, reaching towards the heavens, feeling that quality. Maybe you can feel yourself ground down through the roots of your feet, particularly through heart center of the feet. That's between the toes, which are like the brain, and the heel, just like the will. In the middle is the heart. Feeling that open. Now switching the arms. And of course, being in your heart center of your body, so you don't feel like you're flying off into the heights or too weighed down into the depths, but balanced by the heart center. And then switch again. We'll just practice going back and forth. Somebody's got their phone on. I think heard something. Just double check and turn it off. So just doing this at your own pace. So you're not following me or listening to my voice, but you're following your own ka flow and hearing its voice. Whatever rhythm feels conducive for you. And try and keep your head sitting on top of your neck like the scepter on top of a staff. And it's fine to have your eyes closed, but imagine that your eyes would be looking straight out. So your head's not tilted down, it's not tilted up. Bringing everything into a nice alignment. Just a few more ka flow of this. And then drop the physical arms and continue doing that etherically with the ka body in silence. You started some ripples and the ripples keep going. The watery element of the ka body. Now we're going to engage with our physical arms again, the ka pose. So arms going straight out at the sides, forearms pointing straight up, palms forward. Again, feet flat on the floor. Head sitting on top of the neck like a scepter. And let's bring the inner smile into our heart center. Ka is about levity. So inner smile brings levity. You can bring that inner smile up into the face for an external smile. And then slowly tilting the arms down to do the reverse ka. Arms pointing down to the earth. Feel the change in the quality of your field. Staying in the heart center. And then tilting the arms up again, upward, pointing. Inner outer smile. As well as that forward-looking gaze. So every part of you is engaged, just in a nice, relaxed way, including the neck and the head. As the ka would really lift things up, so the head feels more lifted up on its throne, so to speak. And you might even feel the ka etheric head up above the physical head as the Egyptians experienced. Turning the arms back downward. Feel how this adjusts things, maybe shifts in your energy, shifts in your posture. You might feel your pelvis tuck under more to get more aligned. Tilting the arms back up again. And then releasing the arms and doing that a few times etherically. Etheric flow, ka flow. And then we can take a seated position, meditation position, sitting up, no leaning back, so that you're really relying upon the ka body to sustain the physical body in its verticality. And to activate that even more, doing some swaying back and forth, just like a plumb bob. Micro movements. See how that also enlivens the etheric forces. If you can leave that till later, would be great. Till break. We had our chance, so wait. Being in our heart center, feeling the expansion of this heart center, the center of centers. Allowing it to open, relax, and bringing awareness up to the nostrils, engaging with nostril breathing. It's really sealing the lips to ensure that all air goes in and out through the nostril. Hopefully you feel a bit of that friction, maybe even a slight sense of snoring if you're doing it strongly. This is good. It's creating more friction and piezoelectricity. And with each in-breath, moving awareness from the tip of the nose up the nose bone and right into the head. So your attention sliding up and down the nose bone. Now we're going to add to this practice with a bit more exuberance on the in-breath through the nostril. And on the exhale, we're going to blow it out through the mouth through pursed lips. So let's practice that blowing out a few times. Just, and then inhale through the nose, blowing out through the pursed lips. Slows down the breath. And this technique actually causes the body to fill up more of those ka pranic forces. So with the in-breath, we're going to do a sharp in-breath through the nostrils, moving the air up the nose bone, right into the center of the head to supercharge those psychic centers of the brain. Let's start with a nice exhalation together. Inhale sharply and hold. And then out through the pursed lips. Long, slow breath. Hold the breath out. We call this dead time at the bottom of the out breath, little dead time. Inhale sharply through the nose. Hold. Exhale through the pursed lips. Hold out for dead time. Again, through the nose. Sharp. Even quicker, holding it. Awareness right into the center of the head. And exhaling slowly through pursed lips. Dead time. Once more, even quicker, sharper. Hold. And exhaling through pursed lips. Back to normal breathing through the nostrils with awareness in the forehead. Inner smile in the heart. Moving awareness now above the head, finding that point above the head a few inches or a foot or even more. A nodal point to rest awareness, activating the column above. I'll add to this Egyptian power pose number 1 with the palms open facing upwards. To accentuate the upward flow of levity. And with the 2 palms creating a triangle with the point above the head. So yeah, each palm along the base of the triangle and the point above. Just live into the quality of that pattern you're creating in Ka field. And hopefully you're feeling an accentuation of that point above the head. You can drop the hands now down to the legs. And from that point above the head, allow those lines coming down to extend down to the ground, forming now a 3-dimensional pyramid around you. And you can feel the sides of the pyramid extend even further beneath your feet, beneath your bottom, down into the earth below. See how far down you can sense the sides of the pyramid going. Got the point above your head, the base beneath you, and the center, the heart center of centers in the middle. Always staying connected to that. And now invite a color to fill the interior of your pyramid. See what color comes for you today. Just feel the qualities of that color working upon you. Each color has its own personality. Just feel that, be with it, enjoy it. And while doing this, we're going to do a few rounds of chanting Amun Ra, really allowing each vowel and consonant have its due. So we'll take it nice and slow. Begin with an exhale. Inhale through the nose. And through the nose, you want to use your lips, your mouth, and your throat. Whole face should get a nice massage from doing this. Continue silently. The activation of your Ka body. It's actually activating your Ka body through the movement, and then things like the colors and the tones of sounding. That's activating the Ba, the astral body. And then this next exercise is helpful to activate the Ku, the spirit, our spiritual nature, which is centered in the heart. So bringing your fingertips together, heels of the hands separate. Feel how this balances. And then bringing the heels of the hands together while maintaining this heart center. It's cupping in the middle of the hands. Holding center energy, which is heart energy. Expand the hands out again. And then contract them together again. Just like a heart. Expand, opening, contracting, closing. I'll leave you a few moments of silence to do it at your own pace. You may want to go quicker, you may want to go slower. Experiment. Hands have more power than we realize in their intelligence. And releasing that practice, hands back down in your lap. Asking yourself, how does your heart feel right now? Just being with this very blunt question. How does my heart feel right now? Let's be open to whatever comes. Does your heart feel light? Does it feel heavy? Does it have mixed emotions? Is it blurry or clear? How does the heart feel? And then, while sitting, doing a few more etheric movements of the eye gesture. Not with the physical arms, but the ka arms. One arm up, one arm down. And switch to the other side. Coming back into your sense of verticality, your integrity, your uprightness. And then crossing your arms at the wrists, not touching them, whatever left over right, whatever feels best. You can try both ways. One may feel more feminine, the other may feel more masculine. You judge. Sealing your aura. Again, experiencing that inner smile. Just being with your heart, however it is, in the center of your chest. And then bringing the palms together, rubbing them to create friction and warmth. Bringing ourselves back to our senses. When the palms are nice and warm, you can cup them over the eyes. Drawing that warmth into the eyes. Bringing the warmth down into the heart, creating soul warmth. Preparing to be with the spiritual fire of our circle and our fireplace here together. Those of us here in the loft, those that are on Zoom, those that are watching on the recording. And when you're ready, snapping back, taking a moment to look around the room. Just being with where you are in your heart. Perhaps you can send a smile to your fellow pillars in the circle. Acknowledging that you are truly not alone. You're here to be supported and give support. This past week, we've been sitting with the level of the Khu, the fourth level in the Egyptian view of things, this being our spirit nature, the self, the I am, the ego. It's been one of the assignments we've been working with. And amongst other things, we're going to start off first breaking up into dyads and just talking about how your week has been with the exercises, the results of the exercise of hiding your wallet or your keys. There's that. There's the meditations. There's the writing, journaling, walking. So I'm just going to give you guys time to pair up, and you'll each have like 3-4 minutes to talk about whatever's going on. All right, well, that's the purpose of doing those dyads is to allow you to dig a little deeper into your self-experience, the experience of yourself, and see what kind of cream rises to the top, things that to share with the circle. So yeah, let's do our usual go around, check in, and see what kind of cream has risen to the top. Any poignant points or questions that you want to share about any of this work, any of this learning. So yeah.
Let me go first.
Please.
I'm Shambhala, and I guess I have good news to report. So I've been like, I'm much more present now than in the past. I've been a little bit like brain foggy, distracted in the past, and so I'm much more clear and present now. So that's a good thing. And I my third eye is much more active now, and feeling the energy going on, and seeing a lot more third eye. So that's a good baby step for me. So I'm happy for that. It's nice. It was a lovely meditation.
Great.
Yeah.
Good.
Really nice.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
That's a good sign. I like to remind people, especially in the boot camp. When I run the boot camp, spiritual boot camp, I bring out this baby boot to remind people, it's not about how fast you go, but sometimes just baby boot steps get you there quicker than trying to rush towards some sort of finish line. Because we're building ourselves. It's a journey of self-creation. So we want to make sure we're building on rock and not upon sand. Good. All right, carry on. Yes, please.
I'm AT. I chose to hide my journal because I use that every day and it's usually in one spot. So I chose to hide it each day, and I got a little bit of stress a couple of days where I didn't think I remembered where I put it. And of course I did find it pretty quickly, even though I had that sort of nervousness that I wouldn't. I don't know, kind of interesting to sort of imprint the image of me putting the journal into wherever I put it to hide it. So there was sort of that moment of consciousness or moment of awareness. I'm not still sure how that relates to the coup and
Yeah, well, it's integrative because we've looked at 4 levels of our being: the cat being the physical body, the ka being this life force body, which is like water, and so it's also the place of memory. And then there's the ba, which is soul or the astral body, the body of movement, and qualities, because it's connected to the astral realm, just the way the cause connected to the life force realm. The astral realm is a realm of qualities and patterns, and all the things that inform what comes into physical formation. So you could even call it the realm of archetypes, or the archetypal ideas that inform everything else on the physical level have their origin. So yeah, when we're playing with qualities like the color in the meditation is an astral quality. So that comes into our cause space, into our life force space, and then eventually, manifest physically in the frequency, the type of frequency that we're resonating with. And then the coup is really, the level of consciousness. It's where we have consciousness, self-consciousness, consciousness of others, consciousness of the qualities. So when we're doing this exercise, it's a physical exercise, right? I'm taking an object, you're taking your journal, so you're doing something physically. And then with your ba, your astral forces, you're taking a picture. I didn't mention that the ba is also, the place where we move, but we also work with visualization on that level. So we take a picture and we imprint it on the memory body of the ka, and we do this with consciousness. We do this with presence. We really have to be present in our ku to say, I am taking my wallet and putting it under this chair. So it's integrative of the 4 bodies, like to be present, to take a picture, to imprint it, as you do a physical gesture. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. But I found it was interesting to have that real moment of presence, to say, hey, if I'm not present in knowing where I'm going to put this thing, I may really forget where it went, and that won't be fun.
No, could lead to some sort of suffering if you can't find your wallet or your keys, or your smartphone, and gets us to pay attention, which is really the number one thing in this great, big, beautiful, free world we have, is just to pay attention. That's the only thing we have to pay, is with our attention. And that is going to make all the difference. And so this exercise is strengthening our ability to pay attention to what we're doing. And particularly important this day and age, when we're doing a lot of different things and there's a lot of impressions coming onto us, much more than our ancestors. We're like junkies when it comes to, the amount of impressions we have in the course of a day. And people who are watching the news, the TV's on, it's like it's really blunting our bodies in a way, and our ability to access real information, right? What we were talking about this in our group here, it's about access. We need to strengthen our ability to access if we want to scale the spiritual heights and come to greater understanding, and not just facts. It's not like we need more facts. We get plenty of facts at university, at school, at, on the internet. Facts, facts, facts. What do you get? You get all fact up. But what we really need is to access real information. And that comes through the coup being present and developing its strength to recall things and use these other bodies as organs. The physical body's got lots of organs, but so does the Ka body and the Ba body. They have subtle organs. And in one way, you could call them the chakras, are organs of access and perception that are not even on the table in terms of Western science, but definitely are front row and center in other parts of the world and older cultures. Matter of fact, if you go to India and you walk around, you see people with a red dot in the middle of their forehead. And it's like they look at each other and they're constantly being reminded, what's that red dot of? Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you. I've got a third eye. You can't get away from it. And you've got a third eye and you've got other chakras as well, but you can't see, you can't put like a red dot on every part of your body. So it's just the one on the forehead is sufficient to remind each other, oh, you have subtle organs. I have subtle organs. Ah, thank you. Yes, to access higher dimensions. So, yeah, this is a simple exercise, and I know some of you struggle with exercises and resist. Well, then you have to get over yourself. That's, one of the biggest things is getting over yourself. And that's really primarily working with the Ba, your personality, the Ba body, personality, the astral body correlates to the animal kingdom. And you know what animals are like. I want to do this. I want to do this. And then at other times it's like, no, I don't feel like doing that. Animals really demonstrate our Ba body, our astral body that lives in the flux of sympathies and antipathies. Sympathies means I resonate with that. I want to do it. I'm open to it. And antipathies means I don't want to do it. I have resistance. I reject it. And that's animal instincts, like a goat, right? Goat says, oh, I see green foliage over there. So I like it. That's living in its sympathies because it wants what it wants. So it goes and it nibbles, and then, it's tired of that. So it goes nibbles somewhere else. And then it hears some, rustling in the bushes, and it gets afraid, thinking maybe there's a wolf or something. So the goat goes running off, so it has antipathy. So that's generally how humans live, and their likes and dislikes. And you see that expressed in their opinions. Most humans, when they open their mouth, they don't talk truth. They just blow out opinions. What they think, what they like, what they don't like. And that's not the level that we're trying to get on here. So we have to master our astral body. We have to learn how to tame the horse. We tame the bull. Whatever metaphor you want to use, every animal has a different quality. And so we that's what I say, when the astral body has all these qualities, it really also contains all the different animal qualities that we see expressed in the animal world. And we have that to work with, but we have to also get over it, because it will try and run the show. It will try and run us rather than us harnessing it as a vehicle to move ourselves upwards spiritually. So if you're having resistance, join the club. Everybody's got resistance, but that's probably the number one thing you have to work with then, is to just be faithful to the program. You can go to the Google Doc, you can see everything that we're doing, and work with it. Be faithful to it.
The concept of breaking the pattern,
Yes.
where we put our keys, or where to hide it. What is that? How does that interact? Like, with that breaking of the pattern, seems to me like an important aspect to this.
Breaking which pattern?
The pattern of, like, wherever you put your key, like, the idea of hiding it is breaking the pattern of sort of where you always put your keys.
Right.
So it's just sort of shifting that, you
Yeah.
know, that pattern of, okay, I'm just gonna put my keys over here all the time. Consciously hiding it is sort of breaking that pattern of where you're always putting your keys.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that that's something.
Yeah. To get out of the routine and you know, a bit of the laziness. People come in, they just throw stuff down on the table, you know, and they don't think about it. And they're not really present. They're just like running to the next thought, running to the next thing. So this is actually helping to be more incarnated, to be more incarnated in the levels of your bodies. Because that's really where some of the battle is. If you want to think of it as a battle, spiritual battle. Sometimes people talk about, you know, spiritual battle, being a spiritual warrior. The battle really is about being in your body. And a lot of forces, so many forces are trying to prevent us from being in our body because we're more powerful when we're in our body, to be in and work through the body. You know, things have really, and I mentioned this before, things have shifted from older spiritual paths of the past that emphasized, you know, to meditate and to be out of the body and to ultimately not have to incarnate. So, you know, they advocate non-action, non-doing, meditate, you know, no thought, you know, to empty the mind, and that's, you know, like that's the practices of the past. But we are in a spiritual evolution where things have actually diametrically come around 180 degrees, where now the spiritual mandate is to be more in the body and to work through it and to work upon the earth, to make messes, and then also learn how to clean up messes and gain wisdom from that and become more of an instrument of the earth and the cosmos to carry forth the evolution ourselves, rather than it just being something that nature is doing. Nature has produced us to now do the job. And it takes being in your body to do that. And that's why we need different kinds of meditation techniques. And things like Tantra is, it is an old practice, but it's an important one for today because it involves being in the body and working with all of the bodily forces, all of the chakras. And a lot of yoga does not go as deep as Tantra does. Tantra goes, you know, deep right into the primal sexual energies. And a lot of yoga kind of steers clear of that and just keeps you, you know, meditating for peace of mind and that sort of thing. So, yeah, we want to really get the bodies working together. And today we're going to the fifth level. Very excited about that, but we should continue our go around here. Got to work that muscle. Yeah, you know, it doesn't have to be something like your keys. You can just take a, you know, a drink coaster or something like that, and maybe do it a few times a day to get some momentum going on it, to work that muscle, the memory muscle, because it is working our subtle bodies. And you know, our Western science isn't helping us with this whole thing about the brain. You know, the memory stores is stored in the brain. The brain's active in memory, but we're really underutilizing our fullness of being with the type of picture we have of humans through Western science. Yeah. So keep working it. Thank you. All right.
So at first I was like, I don't know if I have anything to share for the exercise because it actually made me more conscious of not losing my wallet and keys.
Mm.
But I'm going to trust that this is a space where I can just share. So I've shared this with Jesse, but I do these 3-hour ketamine IV infusions to help with chronic pain that I've had for years. And I did an infusion on Sunday, and I'm realizing that I've been having a really intense week, and I had a really profound experience in this one where towards the end I intuitively asked them to give me a little bit more. And I'm realizing as we're speaking that what it did is it actually sent me into a place where I misplaced, like almost like my personality or my ego. And I allow myself to surrender to like basically what becomes this feeling of like God consciousness through that dissociation.
Mm.
And then the last 2 days have been very intense for me. I've just been in bed nonstop, feeling like trusting that my kind of like what you said last week, that like I don't often sleep enough. So I felt like my body really needed to like let my soul or my astral body go off somewhere else and like force my physical body to rest and integrate. So it's been a very intense experience, but I found myself stepping into like an awareness of just the alchemical process of whatever I'm going through and not getting lost in the feelings or the emotions or feeling like, you know, there's something wrong with me or like I get overwhelmed. I kind of have been able to actually harness whatever that maybe the power of alchemy to come back to like feeling more in control of my emotional body. And so my experience is maybe a bit unique to most of our practices this last week, but yeah, just through everything we're sharing, it's making me realize that that was like to me that's also where I do the work. It's like kind of my highest spiritual practice of that dissociation from my body and my pain, but this time like I really felt myself literally birthing myself, like rebirthing myself. And it's not a new experience for me, but this time felt very deep. And I think it's been, yeah, it's like kind of this playground or this where I go to like actually learn these deep spiritual lessons. And these last few that I've done, like I've done a couple in the last month. Every time I'm in that space, it's like I see Isis, I see the temple, I see Egypt, I see these energies. Like it's literally me going back to the temple and like going through this death and rebirth, and then having to come back and like put the pieces of myself back together and choose what stays and what goes. So it's
Wow,
been
that's intense.
intense and humbling.
Do you mind talking a bit more about this, if you don't want to? But I'm just, this is a pertinent subject. You know, the use of
Yeah,
these substances in healing on
yeah.
even higher levels. But I know you're doing it because of physical pain, and the ketamine infusions is to, which causes this dissociation quite majorly, is so that you don't experience the pain, you get relief from the pain.
Yeah, and it's interesting for me because I actually find that when I'm in it with my own experience of body and energy work and my own healing, it's actually brought me deeper into connection to my physical body, and it's allowed me to work through like sometimes I wonder if other people have these experiences when I'm in there, if I just look like completely insane because they're watching you through a camera the whole time to monitor you. And I'm in there with like my tuning forks and my oils and just like.
Oh, you're doing this supervised at some clinic?
So it's at a clinic, but there's no one in the room with me. There's no therapist. So I've been guiding my journeys myself. And then I also do like psychedelic ceremonies and integration with people. So it's been me learning how to actually navigate. Like I feel like I'm really on these higher realms when I'm in it. And it's been a big test that when I started doing them 2 years ago, my second or third infusion, they actually gave me too much. And I basically had like a full-on mental breakdown. It took me 8 months to pull myself out of it. But I knew when it happened that something important, like if I suppressed what happened and they offered me anti-anxiety meds, that I would have lost. Like there was this deep lesson in there. So it's really taught me so much about strengthening my ability to go between these different realms. And so in my own work with people and holding space for others to basically go through like these death and rebirth experiences, it's really, I feel like now I'm at a point where it's like really strengthening me to be like, oh no, I can go into these experiences and like come back out and like kind of learn from it instead of losing myself in it.
Well, yeah, that's the double-edged sword. You're going out to, there's pain in your cat,
Mhm.
and you're seeking, excarnating
Mhm.
with hopes of making connection to an access to information, to frequencies, to revelations that you can bring back in.
And I will
And
say
is it
that
working? That you find that you're making success with the primary motivation? To
I think
overcome
it's
physical
working
pain?
not in the traditional way that they expect it to work. If you go there, you dissociate for 3 hours and then it gives you some temporary relief. But I think it's because I'm curious enough to approach it, like to be like, okay, how can this become a spiritual practice? And this last time, like I've been working through a lot of pain with my teeth, and it's what's come up is a lot of karmic stuff through my ancestry that's been coming through my teeth. I recently, after 3 years of all this pain, had a gold crown put on my tooth. So I've also been feeling literally the alchemy of this gold that's now in my body, helping me to heal. So I've been kind of using that to harness that energy. But this time I could literally feel, as I was working through the physical pain in my body, what came through was like, oh, this isn't even like, it was like my ancestors' pain that I had been carrying. And so sometimes we carry all this pain and we don't know where it comes from, but it brings me enough out of my body to be like, wait a minute, this isn't mine. But then this time I actually allowed myself to allow myself to lose it, to surrender that pain, to be like, the same way I carry my wallet or my keys, I've been carrying all this pain that wasn't mine. And so I kind of was like, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put this down for a while and just see what happens. And then at the end of it, I was like, oh, I don't really need to take this back.
Wow, that's really high-end work. Yeah. So you are getting to the source of the pain, and you're finding its ancestral stuff
Mhm.
and so forth.
Yeah.
Phew. Okay, well,
Just a normal week.
just a normal week for Liz. Okay. No, look, this is interesting, and you'll find out why later on tonight.
Yeah.
So we'll come around to this conversation again. So let's keep going around our circle.
I'm Christian, and yeah, let's see. I really enjoyed hiding the keys. I tend to think that I keep good track of my things and don't lose things very well. I forget people's names and things often, but I tend to, yeah, stay on track with my belongings. So I was always able to retrieve the keys, but I really enjoyed the intention that went into it, just like pausing for a moment, taking like mental snapshot and saying, okay, this is where I'm putting them. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. And just felt like it was breaking routines and patterns. The journaling has been really great. I'm finding my writing is a little more organized. Maybe even my thoughts are a little clearer as I'm journaling, as I'm taking more time to write.
That's significant. That
Yeah.
your thoughts become clearer because you're taking more time and paying more attention.
Mm-hmm. And then with the walking, I guess I haven't been doing so many walking meditations, but I found that when I do, it was a really powerful experience to just notice how I, on a normal basis, how much I'm worried about external things going on around me. And it was really nice to just drop all that and just to be present. So it just showed me kind of maybe how I'm leaking energy and attention on an ongoing basis. So yeah, I really enjoyed that practice. And I was telling Werner that I'd like to try doing that like downtown Toronto, like where there's tons of people walking around, to just like forget about, what's happening and to just be in a meditation to practice not leaking that energy. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something. If you want to have an interesting experience, walk around downtown. Just take your time and do on the call level, do like different poses, like just like this, but not physically, or this, or any of the ones that we're learning. When you presence that sort of stuff within your field, you'll see that other people will pick up on it, other people on a higher level, because you're working on a higher level of yourself than your cat. people around you will pick up on that on other levels and just notice what happens. I won't like front load you, but it's a lot of fun, and it's high end. It's really like moving up the stairway of heaven to interact on you would call it, one of my teachers calls it higher fellowship platforms.
Mhm.
Not just like on the street, but meeting on higher fellowship platforms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I should make that a practice.
Yeah, gonna try that.
The walking with, holding these in the ethers. Yeah. Thank you, Christian. Yeah, great.
Sounds like we have a fun field trip downtown.
Yeah.
Field trip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going downtown.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie. Yeah. I also had a lot of fun hiding my keys. There was the first day I hid them. I guess I was like rushing in the morning to go upstairs, like, fuck, where are my keys? Sorry for the language. But I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, I hid them. It was like, that was the only moment of panic that I was like, because I wasn't present. But I did remember where they were all week. There was one night where I forgot to hide them, and I was kind of upset that I didn't hide them because I really liked having to retrieve them. And I think it got way easier after like the second day. Just like remembering where it was, not having to like take a real picture with my mind. I was just like, as soon as I imprinted it, and was like, this is where I'm leaving it, I didn't have to put too much effort into like really trying to remember where it was. It was just easily retrievable. Yeah, I think that's
Are you working through the meditation set at all? The things that we're
Yeah.
doing with the
yeah, I'm kind of like not doing it in a specific order because I have other things that I do too. I'm doing other Egyptian stuff, so I'm trying to figure out which order is the best order for me to do it all in. It takes me a while to get through it all.
Mhm.
But I was talking to Sean about the pyramid, and I enjoy the pyramid. It takes me a while sometimes to get to the nodal point and just like really anchor it in so that I can draw it.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't feel like I'm in the pyramid, so I like start again and I'm like really make sure I'm in it. When I do get it, I try to extend it out, but I really prefer bringing the corner points below me into like an octahedron, like two pyramids, one on top of the other. I don't know. That's just kind of like what feels really nice for me.
Great. Yeah, feels good.
Yeah, it feels good
It's a
to.
good sign.
Yeah, today my pyramid was blue, which is not a color that I see a lot. Yeah, I'm enjoying all the practices. This one's hard to do when you're sitting on the floor, but you're supposed to do it standing, this one.
It's do it standing to imprint it, but then you can be sitting on the floor or sitting on a chair and go into the Kaaba space and conjure up that imprint, even though you're sitting on the floor.
Right.
You can go into that space. That is really, advancing the subtle musculature, where you can be sitting, meditating on the floor and experience infinite qualities of space that is not bound to space and time.
To what my physical body is doing.
Exactly.
I can imagine me running and I'm just still sitting.
Right, exactly. You could imagine yourself running or riding a horse while you're sitting on the floor. If you could tap into that quality of energy, that's moving to the astral plane.
So we can do anything we want.
Yeah,
Good thing you want to eat ice cream.
This is cool. It's cool that you can just like, when you have that ability to tap into other dimensions, other realms, you can experience and create anything.
yeah. And so that's very significant what you just said, and everybody should pay attention that you said it was hard to do this etherically while sitting down. But I think we did that. Didn't we do that at the end of last class. No, we did that even today.
We were standing.
We did it standing, and then at the end of our meditation, sitting down, I said,
Oh,
do that while
right.
sitting, because I'm trying to push you to run into those self-imposed limits of the mind that has been formed in a certain way. We have to, that's called mind expansion.
Mm.
But it does mean, overcoming ourselves and some of the imprints in the ka. The ka holds, stores patterns and things, and we're used to like sitting in a car, or riding on a bike, or sitting at a laptop, or lying in the bed. So we're really not expanded, we're really contracted in what one of my teachers calls fluid dimensionality. We have to retrain ourselves to be able to experience fluid dimensionality. And that's what these practices are about. So if you're not doing them, you really are, missing a big part of the program. And I encourage you, go to the Google Doc, print out the thing from last week, or the one that I put up for this week, because that's by and large what we're doing. We keep, in terms of a meditation set, I keep adding a little bit each day, but that's basically it for the meditation set. Like today, I added the hold it out in dead time, hold it in. So now add that to the meditation set. And let's reiterate, the blowing out through pursed lips will infuse the body with pranic forces. Breathing out through the nose infuses the head more. That's why we started with that. We wanted to enliven the head with it. But now when you do, you're going to give more life force to everything from the neck down. So really take up that meditation set, because from here on in, we're going to be adding different kinds of exercises that are going to address higher levels that you could say reach beyond the threshold. So they're going to be different kinds of practices, different kinds of things. All right, keep going. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, and that's a variation on the exercise, to take an imprint from some music and then turn the music off and then bring it back and circulate it through yourself. I mean, that can be done with the Amun Ra. We're doing that, right? Going through Amun Ra a few times and then doing it silently. Bringing up the imprint. Very powerful practice, but again, has to be done regularly. It's not a one-off thing. Yeah, thanks, Sean.
I'm Mika. I am. I noticed sitting up. I'm not doing that, but that I used to try to sit up by pushing my back straight, and just the thought of being lifted changes everything. Doesn't get tired. It's not in certain spots because I'm not. When I refuse the approach of pushing, then it's like, well, which vertebrae is wrong? How do I? Whereas if I'm feeling like I'm being lifted, then there's no overcompensation. There's not, everything pushes just enough and no more. You don't have to watch to see if you push too hard if this one is it's straight.
Right.
So it's like one thought that changes a whole movement pattern or a movement or the hiding things. I lose things all the time, and to hide them, it's probably the right thing for me to do because of the fact that because I'd be working and I don't know what it is, but I'm working and I'll just be on the next step of the process, and then I'll need the tool and I don't remember putting it down, but I'll just go to the last place I used it and it's sitting right there. But this conscious putting it down so that I can come back for it. That's like, especially if I'm in flow, it's like as soon as the tool is not needed, it's out of my mind completely. I don't even, so, but on the other hand, I do remember, at night, putting down my phone, and then, going upstairs going, oh, where's my phone? And not knowing where it was, but going in the dark and just reaching out and grabbing it, even though I didn't know that it was there. My body just knew that it was there.
Something knows,
It's really
right? Because you're the one that put it down.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know if the mental picture is like a way to sort of recall it in an overseeing way so that you can, with deliberate intention, go and grab it from there. But I didn't realize that even if you don't go through that process and you just trust, it'll kind of find its way back to you. I'm not,
Yeah, element of trust that you have the capacity.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then just the walking, I'm just more conscious now when I'm walking. So I went for a walk with a friend in nature, and just feeling every step a lot more. And it really reminds me not to hurry. It's not in a hurry. What's the hurry? Going for a walk.
Mhm.
The walking it's not A to B. It's just a walk,
Yeah,
you know.
no,
So just
that's healthy too. We're rushing, was it the ancient Chinese saying, whoever walks in haste cannot walk in grace. So to strive to walk with grace, to hold grace. Yeah. And that'll support your bodies so that you can do this practice and make it a practice. Don't do it just with your workplace stuff, but like, really make this a conscious practice, once a day or a few times a day, very deliberate, where it's not anything to do with your normal life. Like, this is the point with a practice, is like, this has nothing to do with my normal life. I'm doing this specifically as a spiritual practice. Yeah. Great. All right. Thank you, Mika. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name's Amit, and been just what Mika was saying with the walking, and consciously elevating and vertically lifting yourself, and finding that comfort in walking. And as I was saying earlier too, I was enjoying the exercises on my rest after walking. So I would walk for a bit, do the exercise, and then walk more, do the exercise. It definitely gives me a much more sense of rest, and um, excited to do it again after a little bit more of walking. That's it.
Great. Great. Thank you, Amit. And to the Zoom room here, let's okay, get you guys. Who wants to go first? Phil? Let me put you on different speaker here. All right, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I've been at this isolated cabin for the last 2 weeks, and so I'm really getting to immerse myself in these exercises. I've spent most of the day watching deer, so I definitely got to experience this witnessing of how the animal body moves and the different ways that the animal body presents itself, especially watching the cat that I'm babysitting interact with the deer. That's really fascinating, and also noticing that the deer now have grown much more accustomed to me. They spend the distance that they keep is getting smaller, which is fascinating. As far as the exercises go, I've been enjoying the hiding game. Yesterday, I think I had the first moment where it wasn't where I thought it was. And then you have that moment of panic rush over you where you're like, uh-oh. But then it was in the second place. I feel like if you did that every single day, it would start to become, there would definitely get to a point where it could be in many different places and you really have to double down. I was saying in the small group that this was the week where I've been really active and actually doing all these different practices. And this week I was finding myself going into that stage of like past the honeymoon stage where I was like, it kind of felt like a drag some of the days to do the meditation and to do the writing. And I communicated that even in the writing portion. But I also think that I put my body through a gigantic shift by being in this space. And so now I am experiencing the impact of my body having shifted energies and also the thought that on Friday I'm going to be shifting back. And so there's all these different energies playing around in my mind. So I'll be back next week. I'm very excited to be back in the law.
Great. Thank you, Phil.
Greetings, everyone. So I was thinking about after I shared in a small group with Philip and Jesse that why did I join this course? And, I have this, I've had this affinity for Egypt since I was probably about 10 years old. Due to a book I read when I was a kid. And I felt like it's been calling me ever since. Also fascinated with geometry. So the pyramids and is sacred geometry, and being a carpenter who builds, I kind of wanted to build temples at one point in my life. So there's a lot of draws there. But the interesting thing I was thinking about was like, I think I just was joining the course for the knowledge or the information. So I think, Jesse, I think I'm getting all fact up. And it's probably not as effective as embodying some of the practices. So I'm going to take on doing practices from here on in and, ignoring this, was it my body? That my personality that's got this hiccup with homework or home play. I guess no matter how you slice it, it's like it says it's work for me. But anyways, I'm going to take on embodying some of the practices.
Great. Yeah. This is normal. People come in expectations and it's all going to be fun and, this and that, but then it's called the great work because it is work, but we're also trying to redirect our energies from how it's being expended and leaked in things that aren't feeding back into our development and our health and well-being. And, that's why I do what I do, to try and curate some of the best practices that I've got from some of the best sources, some of the trainings that I've done over the years, things that work, that people will hopefully feel is worth their time to invest in. Once they understand, the different paradigm we're working with, to really understand it, to see, okay, this is going to actually develop higher parts of my being, and there'll be, a benefit, there'll be a reward to that. So good. Yeah. Overcoming ourselves. I like how Phil said, the honeymoon is over. Yeah. It's, we're halfway through. So we're not in the honeymoon. It's like, we have to hold each other accountable, work together, get some momentum together as we move forward. So hopefully these circles are helpful in that way, that you hear each other's experiences and are inspiring each other. Looking on to our list of different phases of alchemy, we come to this one, conjunction. Now, after looking at the calcination, where everything is reduced to ashes, completely transformed in its energy from one state to, you could say, its complete opposite, from form to formless. And then dissolution, or something that's concentrated becomes dissolved, perhaps in some other medium. Separation, where things are broken apart into different constituent components. Now we come to this idea of conjunction, with and a junction, a crossing. And that word conjunction is used in astrology when things are crossing paths and they meet, something in front of the other from our Earth perspective, but there's this coming together, a conjunction of planets. We can see that on a chemical level. You know, these have their chemical application, this too, you know, where we combine things together in the body, taking, say, the conjunction of ayahuasca and chacruna, the conjunction of those two different plant chemicals, you could say, produce something greater than what each of them can do on their own. So it's a conjunction of molecules. There can be conjunction on the social level, right? We're having a conjunction here. We're coming together into a certain configuration. And you could also say that what we're doing together is greater than what we've been doing by ourselves. And so conjunction's really important, especially when it's done consciously with the higher forces that are trying to bring things together. And that's, you know, when we talk about the alchemization or the transformation on a planetary level, there are higher spiritual forces that are wanting to bring forth our evolution to a higher state of being. But we can't do it, they can't do it, unless we are complicit. So this is why we're trying to raise our consciousness up to what these higher levels are, activated in ourselves, so we can engage and allow conjunction of a higher order. But right now, you know, because we're fact up and we're ignorant and we're nascent and all of that, we're not complicit. We're actually blocking, we're slowing down the evolution that's waiting on humans to take up their full role as spiritual beings that are born of the cosmos through the earth. We're not born of the earth, we're being born of the cosmos through the earth to serve the earth in this great alchemical process, great work. And really, what is that part of us, that central part that needs to be awakened and engaged in doing the work of conjunction? Well, what part of us is central in conjunction things? Yes.
And so the heart accepts. So if you're going to have confidence, you don't want something that's judging and constantly kicking things out, something that embraces and accepts, that is conducive to togetherness, to meeting.
Yes. Yes. Meeting. All things meet in the heart. The heart is the center of centers. it is the conjuncting organ where things above the heart play down, things below the heart play up, and the heart is constantly receiving in and sending out, receiving in and sending out. So there's something to contemplate this week, is the nature of conjunction on these multiple levels as an alchemical phase. Moving on now to a look at the 8 levels of being as seen through the eyes of the Egyptians. We've been working our way up this ladder from the Ket, the Ka, the Ba, the Ku. And last week we looked at the Ku, which we can see is supported from below. You know, the physical body supports the work of the self, the spirit, as does our energy body. It supports the work of the self, the spirit, the I am. The Ba, the personality, the astral body that has all these qualities in it. We talked about how the astral plane has this full spectrum of infinite possibilities, whereas down here in the Ka and the Ket, it's more like a polarity. One is one gender, the other is its opposite gender, working as the physical and what's known as the etheric double. But the Ket has this spectrum of possibilities, allowing the Ku a palette, a rich palette in which to create with as a creative being. So it's supported. It's supported by these other elements, but it also has to stand on its own. And that is inherent in the nature of the Ku, is that it has to be able to stand on its own. And the idea of standing implies verticality, which is why there's a lot of emphasis on verticality in our sitting and our standing and our practices, because the Ku is really the thing that separates us from the animal kingdom, because the animal kingdom is not known for its verticality. The animal kingdom is known for its horizontality. Animals, for the most part, even up to, you know, our primate relatives, they still crawl on 4. They use all 4 limbs to move. We are bipedal and stand upright. And that, in a way, is really symbolic of the spiritual nature itself. Standing physically upright is symbolic of how the spirit is meant to be an upright being. We use that word in 2 contexts, to be physically upright, but also to be, you could say, morally upright, to have integrity. You can't stand physically upright if you didn't have integrity. If you had a broken leg and it lacked integrity, you would fall over. Likewise, in our spiritual nature, if we don't have moral integrity and you know, a conjunction of all the elements that hold up our spiritual nature, then we would be pulled down. We would fall down. Or we would experience what's known as the fall in the book of Genesis. And we all repeat this fall over and over again when we succumb to the temptations, the illusions, the seductions of what's known as Maya, or the serpent, or the Luciferic element in life, the fool's gold, the false lights, and the strange fires. And the spirit, because it is it is meant to be a conscious being with freedom. It has the freedom to have errors in judgment. It can make errors in judgment. It can make choices that are less than best for itself. Partly because it's pulled down by the ba, the animal instincts. It's like, oh yeah, I want to go party tonight and get drunk and smash and grab some woman and have a good time and all of this, not judging. I mean, maybe that's the path for you, but anyways, we do have that freedom to make many different choices. And sometimes they're not necessarily something that serves us and the greater whole. And that's a beautiful thing, that we have that freedom. But when we make those mistakes, it can be like a fall. It can be a pulling down. It can be like a weight all of a sudden in our being that needs to be worked with. And this coup self is constantly having to work against this being pulled down in life. And we can see here on this biography chart how, the journey as we've looked at it so far has been setting the stage with these lower supporting members, the birth of the physical, the birth of the etheric ka, the birth of the astral ba, and then the birth of the ku, the self, coming down into the world. It could continue to go down. It's not necessarily going to make the corner, not necessarily going to make that hairpin turn safely and then continue on up, ascending. People can go down, and you see it. Let's look around at the carnage of human lives on this planet, because people are exercising their freedom of will in ways that are less than best for their personal transformation as well as the planetary transformation. So it's not to say we're going to be perfect and not make mistakes, but when we do, then we have an opportunity to do alchemy and to take those things that have produced spiritual lead, the weight of lead, and transform them into gold. And in doing that, it brings us back to this idea of the heart that we have been just discussing a moment ago, and how it is central in the work as an alchemist. I'm going to pass this book around. This is Dr. Kareem's first book, the founder of biogeometry, called Back to a Future for Mankind. I studied with him and did the advanced training. I've got this book. I got all of his books. This is the new book that just came out in the last year, called Hidden Reality, the Biogeometry Physics of Quality. And this picture I'm going to pass around for you to look at. I think he's actually repeated it in this book, and it's also in the training material. Shows an alchemist, and it shows this picture of an alchemist who is stirring the cauldron, which has some base metal in it, lead, and there's a connection to his heart, as you can see, or maybe you can't see too well, but a connection to his heart. And then his heart is, if you look at the arrow going up, he's indicating that his heart is connecting to the higher octave of gold, spiritual gold. And how as a upright spiritual being he can connect upward, and how that is important in the downward movement into the earth, working with base metals and transmuting them, transforming them, alchemizing them into a higher form. And lastly, he's showing how, as this enriches the heart, it then moves upward into the head as well, enlivening the thinking processes. Really important picture because it shows how central the heart is. And it isn't just the brain that's necessary to do the great work, let alone even try to live as an upright spiritual being. So I'll pass this around. You can have a little look at that. And I'll put on the board now our next dum-da-dum, da-da-da-da. The ib. The Egyptian word ib could be, doesn't have to be a capital B, it can just be lowercase b, ib, or it sometimes in writing could be ab, because in Egyptian writing they don't actually have vowels, which is why you see sometimes words are spelled different ways, like ket is here with an E, but it could be with an A, cat. If you go back to the source language, you'll see that their alphabet and whatnot didn't include vowels. So Egyptologists have developed different conventions with the words, so they've inserted vowels so that it can be spoken in English. And so the ib is referring to the heart. The heart was a distinct part of the makeup, part of the conjunction of the different members of a human being in the view of the Egyptians. And what was their view of the heart? Is it like we have today, that the heart is a mechanical pump in your chest that just relentlessly pumps blood from some time in the embryo, day after day, year after year, until it stops, and then you're dead? Once this mechanical pump is broken down, you're dead. That's the end of your life because the mechanics just failed? No, they certainly didn't look at the human heart as a pump. They saw this as a central organ, as you can see in the diagram there, that is a transmuting organ, spiritual organ. It is really the central part of the alchemist within you. And so actually represents your inner essence, holds your inner essence. Today, we think it's a mechanical pump that serves the brain, and that the brain is the center of the self. We're going to look back on these times and just see how Neanderthal our science was, and so materialistic it was in the way we view the human being, as we hopefully return back to a more expanded view as the Egyptians had. So yeah, we've given far too much emphasis to the brain and less emphasis to the heart. And the heart in the Egyptian view was in some of the hieroglyphics, it was shown as a feather, which is the letter I, and the lower part of a leg, which represents the sound of B. So the sound of B was implicit there, but it wasn't actually written. It was written with a feather and the lower part of a leg, giving us this word ib. But it was also at times represented as a jar with a lid, but the heart was a jar with a lid. And I will show you some nice slides here. The heart, here it's spelled I-E-B. The heart was the seat of thought and emotion, and even of life itself. Because the heart held, as it were, the individual's life, and the form of the written sign was also reminiscent of a vase or jar, many actual containers were made to mimic the shape of the heart sign. Yeah. And so here's a depiction of it actually carved in the wall of a temple. This hieroglyph or hieroglyph for the heart, looking something like a jar with a lid. And they actually made, this would be like an amulet that could be worn. Amulets were said to possess special energy, magical energy, protective energy, worn on the body, has that heart type shape, but also jar-like shape. And sometimes they carved the scarab beetle on it, because the scarab beetle also has a bit of that similar shape, and was said to protect the heart. So I like, this idea of it being like a jar, because it's and then turned into an amulet, because it's reminiscent of how people, maybe not so much now, but we used to wear those lockets around their neck. A locket where you locked in something very special to you, something that you held a deep love towards, and you held it close to your heart. It hung right next to your heart, this locket. And how that really speaks to the function of the heart. It holds, what is special, what is dear to us, what is empowering to our love, to our consciousness, to our life. And sometimes was even kept kind of a bit secret and hidden from the rest of the world. What we hold in our heart isn't necessarily something we put out into the world so easily. That needs to be held in a particular way, and that gives us power. Now, looking at the heart, it brings us, a step up. We're really in the middle here, going up to 8. We're crossing this middle point you could call the threshold. And we could think of the heart as a threshold organ, because not only does our heart experience things in this realm, in the physical realm, the realm of manifestation, where we experience things through our physical body, but the heart also is an organ that experiences things on the other side of the threshold, that it can experience the spiritual world even while we're on this side of the threshold. And this is why it's so important to put the heart back in its true position and true perspective, because the brain is not a threshold organ. The brain fundamentally is the headquarters for the senses and the nerve system that connects to this realm. We don't use our nerve system to connect to spiritual realities primarily. Our nerve system connects us to our eyes, our ears, our nose, our taste, and our tactile senses. So the brain is not designed to be a threshold organ. And the brain does have a spiritual counterpart, but the heart, by its nature, is much more intended to be something that's working on both sides of the threshold, even simultaneously. And with this idea of its threshold nature, it's interesting now to step across the threshold, meaning that's where we go when we die. We leave the coup leaves these lower members when it dies and crosses the threshold. And the Egyptians really put a lot around this rite of passage, death. And this time of death was overseen by the god Anubis, the jackal-headed god. And from my research, I found out why Anubis is a jackal-headed god. Originally, one of the traditions in ancient Egypt, like very early times, probably pre-dynastic times, was to take the dead and just put the body in the reeds of the river, dispose of it that way, the Nile River, give it back to the mother. And part of what would happen is not only would it decay in the water and I guess fish and stuff, but jackals would come and eat the corpse. And so the jackal became the animal emblem overseeing this rite of passage of death, and replacing putting the corpse into the reeds of the river. This whole thing of mummification began, and Anubis is said to be the one that invented mummification to replace, disposing of the body in the river. And so Anubis, as the one who inspired and guided mummification into this process of where organs of the body would be taken out. The lungs would be taken out, the liver would be taken out, the stomach would be taken out, and the intestines would be taken out. Those 4 different organs would be taken out and put into canopic jars, clay jars. They're called canopic jars, and they would be organs stored in that and put with the mummy into the tomb. And they had, the mummification would oil the body to preserve it, and they had ways to dehydrate the body through mummification. But you may have noticed that there's an organ that wasn't taken out, and that's the heart. The heart would be left in the body because that was considered the jar that held the spiritual essence of the person. And this whole thing of mummification has been an interesting study for me because a lot of people, Egyptologists, don't really get it because they look at it from a very materialistic way, thinking, this is just to preserve the body but the real intention, this kind of the esoteric intention, is that the mummy with its heart became an anchor on earth for the coup. Because the people that were mummified were, the ones who had gone through initiation and developed themselves spiritually to a high level through doing the practices, doing the work, doing the great work. They developed themselves to a high level. And so they wanted to preserve their bodies as an anchorage to their spirit, because then there would be a flow of that spirit down into the spiritual atmosphere on earth that the people were connected to. Egyptologists, they think, like the mummy was set up because, then it would go on a boat, it'd go on a journey, and that the Egyptians actually thought that, the the body could go on the boat into the other side of the threshold. But no, it was really to maintain this connection, this, as we were looking at before, the two-way street of the lemniscate, right? Things are going up, things are going down, things are coming into manifestation, things are going out of manifestation. And so when somebody dies, they're going out of manifestation, but their spirit can still circulate into the spiritual atmosphere on earth. And this is what we need, especially if somebody's developed themselves to a high level and can communicate wisdom and guidance and spiritual levity to society. And part of this rite of passage overseen by Anubis involved other gods, and in particular one, the goddess Maat, Maat, and the weighing of the heart ritual. And I'll bring up another slide here that shows the weighing of the heart. You've got Anubis, jackal-headed god. Here is the heart. Here is, you know what that is, right? Yes, the ba. It's the bird body and the human head. So the astral body floating outside. I suppose this is actually the physical body. This is maybe the Ket. But they're weighing the heart against this feather. This is Thoth, the ibis-headed god. I'm not sure which one is Mat here. But Mat is the goddess that oversees cosmic order and harmony, so forth, of the spiritual world. And so this feather would be put on one side of the scale and the heart on the other to see if the person's heart was as light as a feather. If not, over here we have Amit. Not this Amit. You spell your name differently. You're A-M-I-T. This is spelled A-M-M-I-T. That has the front body of a lion, the hind quarters of a hippo, and the head of a crocodile. This goddess is known as the devourer of the dead. And if your heart was not worthy to go to, a particular place in the spiritual world to be with the gods, then Amit was on the job. And apparently Anubis also would sniff you to see how you smelled. See if you smelled good enough to be with the gods. And if you weren't, then you weren't going to be going on a certain trajectory in the afterlife, that when you died, you would have a different experience than someone who had done the work and had achieved a place where the heart was as light as a feather. What I want to do right now is actually share something personal, because over this past weekend, I went and did a sacred medicine journey, working with magic mushrooms, otherwise known as psilocybin. Now, this was actually the first time I've ever done mushrooms in my whole life. and I've never done LSD, and I've never done really anything apart from smoking copious amounts of cannabis when I was a teenager, and drinking and things like that. But I grew up as a good Christian boy and decided, I wanted to be spiritually clean and all that. So I haven't really done any major exploration of psychedelics, except 10 years ago, when I was hearing a lot of talk in circles around me, people coming here talking about ayahuasca. And I heard some things that made it sound quite interesting for me. And I heard the call. So without any sort of experience with ayahuasca, having done it here or anywhere, I booked myself into a center down in Peru near Iquitos, booked a flight, and went on down to do drinks of ayahuasca with the Shipibo shaman. This wonderful old man, 70 years old, Shipibo man, been doing this all his life. And over the course of 2 weeks, did 10 drinks. Talk about going from 0 to 100 in 30 seconds. Did my research to see, what's considered one of the, most powerful psychoactive substances on the planet could do. And a lot. It can do a lot. I don't recommend doing it but that's kind of the way I went with it. I came back and I wanted to do more. I wanted to go back again, but Spirit was going, hold on. If you want to do more, do it here in Canada and organize it for other people to do it. So I ended up finding a Shipibo trained Canadian in the area and hosted a couple of ayahuasca ceremonies here in the loft. And then I hosted a weekend retreat up north with another shaman and did 10 more drinks. So I did like 20 drinks in 6 months to see what this medicine could do. Probably felt a bit like Liz, like, both sides of the threshold at once, and really impacted me. As you can see now, I've got my wall covered with ayahuasca patterns hanging above my kitchen table, stuff in the bathroom. So it really imprinted in me some strong medicine, some strong lessons, and in a way, maybe a carrier of that. And gave me some homework to do, which I got on. And it really brought me into a new phase of my work. I have to thank ayahuasca for bringing me into this teaching work, this healing work, and so forth. But that was 10 years ago. So now more recently, been hearing the call around mushrooms, and I started doing microdosing about 6 months ago. Actually, somebody in our circle helped me to do my first microdose. I was all kind of nervous. It's sort of funny. I mean, you're taking 150 milligrams. It's not exactly anything to get nervous about, but kind of held my hand. I did that. So I've been doing that. And when I was in Egypt, I did some meditation, and it came through very strongly for me to work with mushrooms. So I arrived back December 18th. And then 2 days later, went to Chocolate Groove. I danced for a while. I was feeling jet lag. I was about to leave. And somebody says, oh, I was just talking about you. I want you to meet this woman. Like, okay. I started talking to her, and it turns out she's a medicine woman who is trained in herbology and Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And I said, oh, do you happen to facilitate people doing medicine journeys? She goes, yeah. And I said, do you have a place? Do you have a good place to do that? And she said, yep, I have a place in Tobermory. I said, wow, really? Would you guide me into my first medicine journey with mushrooms at this place in Tobermory? So we met here a few times over the past few weeks and set it all up. And this is helping her to kind of shape her work and make it more publicly available. So yeah, went up Saturday to a cottage right on the lake in Tobermory, and uh, it was all great. It was set up with the mats. It was just myself and this medicine woman, and she turned the mushrooms into a tea, and it was it was a new mushroom she hadn't worked with. It was called Tidal Wave, and quite fresh, and made it into a tea. She made like three grams of it, and she had it, and she went, "Wow, this is pretty strong stuff." And it was like, "Okay, yeah." Uh, this was about, we did it right at twilight, just when the light was going down, and drank. We played some music. I played my flute, and she played drum.
What dosage?
She brewed up 3 grams of it, and she was having less than me, so I'm not exactly sure how much I had, but it was enough for my first time. And it started to come in, and it's like, okay, I can't play my flute anymore. How these things come on. I'm sure everybody has had their own experiences with this, and are familiar with it. Had to lie down because I started to get the tidal wave. Started to have like my body shaking and kind of convulsing a bit and whatnot. And then that calmed down. And then I started to get the psychedelia. And that was all beautiful. And then it hit a wall. It hit this wall that was like hitting a weight. And in fact, what it did was it took me back to some lessons I got on ayahuasca that I hadn't completed. And I realized that it was actually the 10th anniversary of when I did ayahuasca, and I was given a series of homework lessons to do, and some of which I've done, and some of which I haven't done. 10 years, and there's still some stuff around relationship and stuff that hasn't been reconciled. And so what this medicine journey turned into was not rainbows and unicorns, but actually a weighing of my heart. It's interesting how the medicine works. It's as they say, it's adaptogenic, and it comes in and assesses you. It sees, what's going on, and it was really like shaking everything out that it could, like energizing my neurology and my circulatory system. But then it hit this thing that was sitting like a weight in me. And it was, in fact, a weighing of the heart type of ritual that I went through. Not like I died, but as you know, on these medicine journeys, you do die. You do go through a mini death. And so it was just like that, where I had been weighed and found wanting. And it's interesting. She said that during that afternoon, she had seen an eagle flying over and making its song in the sky, the scream. And she thought, that's a good omen. That's a great omen. On the way up, I had this song come into my head. You can't hide those lion eyes. Dun-dun-dun. And then I realized that's a song by the Eagles. And the journey was very interesting because on the one hand, it was extremely painful. And I went into a state of major suffering because the medicine was waking me up, shaking me up, that there's stuff I was given 10 years to do that I was ignoring. But at the same time, there was a lot of conjunction going on that my heart was putting these pieces together, like the eagle, the song. She told me she had this dream the night before. I had a very vivid dream the night before. At one point in the evening, we looked at the dreams and how they were, portentous of me, because I was the one, coming into this, looking for a vision, looking for some sort of direction. I definitely wasn't going there, just for a party drug. I was looking there to see what this medicine can do for me and for others, and to get some answers and direction. So sometimes this is what happens. It takes you down into the pit of hell, and you suffer. It was very painful, and she was like, came and was putting her hand on my back, and it was like, no, don't relieve my suffering. Like, I wasn't even being allowed that. The medicine was saying, no, don't try to abate the suffering of this. And at one point I rolled over on my side into the fetal position. And then I was showing how I was really being put through this death of someone, how do I put it? That at least with regards to the things I hadn't completed, that there was a worthlessness to me, and that there was a lying, there was a stealing, and that I was holding up evolution. Right? We can be blocks to not only ourselves, but the overall evolution. And this folding up on the side of the legs is the way they buried Egyptians that were commoners. They would just fold them up in the fetal position, put them in a common grave. I wasn't being given like kind of a noble death initiation in a sarcophagus, like some sort of initiate. I was like being thrown into this pit as just kind of a commoner in this folded position. So on the one hand, it was pretty miserable. But the beauty of these plant spirit teachers is they don't just leave you there. They bring you down, and they bring you through, and they bring you back up. And the question in the air was, would I do a second night? Because I had planned to go up there Saturday night with the potential of also doing Sunday night. In the space was a very cold, blunt no. No more medicine for you until you reconcile the things that you've already been taught by the medicine 10 years ago that you're ignoring. And I love that word ignorance. I learned, there's the word ignorance and the word nescience, N-E, science. Like science means knowing, and so not knowing. So if you're not knowing something, then you don't know it. And you don't even know you don't know it. But the word ignorance means you know it, but you're ignoring it. So I was just being ignorant with something I knew that I needed to work on, and I was ignoring it. And then, I waltz into this medicine session with this medicine woman, very beautiful. And do I get unicorns and rainbows? No, I get a commoner's death and told no more medicine until I do what? The great work, which comes down to action. Action at the lowest level, the physical level, to prove something. The word action is what karma means. Karma literally means action. And it's through action that you create karma. And it's only through action that you're going to uncreate it, that you're going to alchemize it and turn the lead of something into gold. Nobody can heal your karma for you. Nobody can do energy medicine to change your karma. You can have crystals, herbs, whatever you want. It takes action. That's the hard truth. around our lives. So no more medicine. Like, nope, you're not staying for another night. You're going home. I couldn't even stay up there. It's like, get your ass. It just had my ass handed back to me. It's like, leave. I can still microdose. I got that clear, because the mushrooms on a microdose level are benefiting me and a lot of different ways, my neurology and my writing and whatnot. But now I have to do action and prove something so I can go back and do the second one later. So that's kind of like hanging in the air, as if I would want to do more mushrooms and experience potentially rainbows and unicorns. I'm going to have to prove something through action. So that's great. That's very motivating. That's going to get me to do something I should have done 10 years ago. And finally get to the next higher level in my journey. So the work for this week then, guess what? Is to weigh your own heart. What? Mushrooms. All right. Well, on that note, let me just insert here. Next week, Liz is going to talk about the use of the Egyptian entheogenic substance Blue Lotus, which they used in Egyptian initiatory rites.
To be with mushrooms as well. A lot of hieroglyphics will show the capensis mushroom and the blue lotus. And I was at West at this conference with my teas. I watched a talk by Paul Stamets, and he did this whole section on ancient Egypt, the mushroom and the blue lotus.
Okay, so next week, Liz is going to talk to us about this. And then the following week, we're going to have the option to do like a microdose, I believe, of the blue lotus. I don't know if you're thinking mushrooms as well.
I was thinking just the blue.
The blue lotus would like to do it in the beginning of the evening in place of our opening set, or as part of our opening set. So yeah, next week Liz is going to talk about it, and then the following week you have the option to do it or the option to not do it, whatever the case may be. Yeah, as we go up this ladder here, the steps of being we're moving away from nostril breathing exercises and toning and stuff like that to engaging ourselves on higher levels in different ways. But before we do that, before we get there, the work this week, the assignment is to weigh in with your own heart to see if there's some weight there that you can feel into with the moral conscious, the moral compass of your own heart, to see if there's something that you need to do, some action you need to take that can alchemize and transform that lead weight into spiritual gold for yourself and all of humanity. And that action can come in many different ways. It might be a letter that you write to someone. It might be a letter you write to someone and you never send, but still the action of writing can be very powerful. It might be going to meet somebody and talking with them. You have to weigh in with your heart and its communion with the cosmic intelligence and the spiritual GPS to see how you're guided. And next week we can have a check-in to see how that's going for you. Because that weight, if we don't deal with that weight, think of weight. Weight is gravity. And gravity will bring us back into incarnation. It brings us back to the earth. It brings us, to have to keep coming back to get another shot at ascension. And I'll also mention another part of the weekend was the dream she had was an image of a jaguar, or at least it was in a tree, the way a jaguar would be sleeping in a tree. but it looked like a bear. Instead of a jaguar, it was a bear. And when we unpack that, I have this big picture of a jaguar in my bathroom here, and there's a lot of kind of shamanistic things because there's definitely the flavor of my, what shall we say, my work also in a kind of a neo-shamanistic way, and how I haven't been fulfilling that. I've been bearish rather than jaguar-ish around it. Partly because I had considered training more with the ayahuasca medicine 10 years ago. Now it's like, oh, maybe it's with mushrooms. Ayahuasca is just so powerful, and it's the big guns. It's not necessarily the way to go. Yeah, and mushrooms can be much more manageable.
Much less vomit.
Yes, that too. So yeah, I have to move myself from being a little bit bearish around my role, and that to get back connected to the jaguar as a symbol of the shaman. So that's me. This week, continuing with the meditation practices that we've been doing, continuing all the home play, but then this thing really to clean up anything in your personal life that's weighing you down and holding you back. And if you want to have conversation with me at all during the week around that, I'm here to consult with. Why don't we finish off by standing up in our uprightness physically? Symbolic of our uprightness spiritually, our spiritual ability to stand on our own 2 feet. Come on over here, meet to round out our circle a little bit. Symbolic of our working together in community as pillars. And one arm up, one arm down, really extending our pillarness between the cosmos and the earth. You can switch the arms, feel that balance, and to feel that connection above and below. And then now to extend the arms straight out to feel that horizontal connection, which is also important. Yeah, come over here and meet closer to me. We don't want to disregard the importance of the horizontal connection. How beautiful to have our circle here, arms extended out and hearts open wide. And hopefully your heart feels lighter, knowing that you're not alone. You're being held up by others, and you're helping to hold others up in the great work of personal and planetary alchemization.